piece of information on the film.
Hi, thank you. I'm Andrea Segre, I'm the director, but it's better to say the co-director of the film you are going to watch, because most of the film is based on the footage and images directly made by Ibi Sfenviato, also known as Ibi. I met Ibi in 2014, the first time. I was in her house in a village near Naples, called Castelvolturno, which is the most African village in Europe. So there are a lot of African migrants, citizens come from Western African countries, living in this village near Naples, and she was living there too when we met. I entered in her house and she invited me to watch the images she had on the walls, and then she asked me, there is a lot of people in the queue.
It looks like a reception, say migrant reception.
Okay, and she asked me, are you a real director? And I answered, what do you mean with real director? No, because I'm director and photographer too, but I can't be a real one because I'm illegal. And since that first meeting we had, I had the idea, the wish to work with her and to make a real film with Ibi, based on what she filmed and what she told through her images. Somehow we managed to do it somehow together. You will discover better during the film. I hope you will enjoy, and I will be back at the end of the film. I know that most of you have to fly away, to run away for the next lesson, but if someone of you can wait, I'll be there to listen for your question and try to give answers. Enjoy the movie. Bye.
Okay. So thank you for those of you who've actually stayed. Andrea, this is a wonderful, a slow simmering documentary. I think I'm going to take questions if you have any. I can only share for now my experience. I didn't read too much about the film before watching it, and as it was progressing, I kept on thinking, she's going to be deported. You know, like, because it was, at some point they started speaking in the past. And I have to say, I was actually hoping that she would be deported, because it became progressively clear that maybe Ibi wasn't with us anymore. So I don't know if this is everybody else's experience, but obviously you had a purpose in mind in building the film as if Ibi was still with us. So I just wanted to ask you about the process.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it's exactly what I was mentioning before the film. So we tried to make a film with Ibi. That was the idea we had together before she died. And the death of Ibi arrived suddenly, exactly as it is in the film. So she had this strong pneumonia. Yeah. And she went very late in the hospital and was too late. And that has also to do with the fact that she didn't have the documents, because, okay, if you are illegal, so without documents in Italy, you have the right to go to the hospital, and you have the right to be cured, also if you don't have the documents. But every time you have the fear somehow that some doctors could denounce you, and so it's not that easy that someone who has no documents goes to the hospital. And finally, when she went, it was too late. And so after the sudden death of Ibi, together with Salami and with her daughter, her husband, her daughters and sons. One of the daughters came to Italy, the other two are still in Africa, in Benin, and together with the friends of the movement of refugees and migrants, Ibi was part of this movement. We decided together to try to make a film with Ibi, also if Ibi was not with us. That's why we built the film in order to give the audience the sensation to be with her, to follow her and her life and her creativity, her art, her hopes. That's the reason why we decided to build the film this way. And also the distribution of the film has been released in October last year in Italy, but the premiere was at Locarno Film Festival, and all the campaign around the distribution of the film has been thought in order to give the sensation that Ibi is still with us. And we received actually a lot of requests to have Ibi for the screenings. And that is something we decided to do in order to make her living through her art and through this film. And there is also, and we organize also an exhibition of her pictures, because every time I make a film, there is something I don't like of the film, and what I don't like of this film is that maybe it's too much concentrate on the story of her documents and her hope to receive documents and to come back to visit her mother and her sons. And the space for her creativity is a little bit too short in comparison with but the narrative balance of the film brought us to build the film this way. And so we thought that we had to somehow find another space for her creativity, and we organized this exhibition, which is traveling all around Italy and Europe too, since October 2017, the exhibition was in more than 20 cities around Italy, and the opening of the exhibition was at La Reggia di Caserta. La Reggia di Caserta is a very famous palace in Caserta where Ibi was living, and the opening of the exhibition and the first screening of the film in La Reggia was a very important moment also for the movement and for Ibi herself and for the Salami and the family.
Are there any questions from you guys? Yeah.
Did you find it difficult working with all the different resolutions and things like that? I was wondering how that all worked out.
Yeah, definitely, because when we speak about the footage of Ibi or the private archive of Ibi, we don't have to think about something organized or very well thought. So she was simply filming, making photo, and then she was somehow saving this footage in different formats, in CDs, in DVDs, in old computers. And when we started to work on her archive, we started to search the material, and everything was completely not organized. We found 3 big boxes, plastic boxes. Yeah, you see this film, with full of CDs, DVDs, and some of them were copied twice, 3 times, or 10 times. And we started to watch, and some of the best materials we found by chance. I remember once I found in the house, I found an old VHS tape near a door on the floor, and they asked to Salami, what is it? No, it's only to keep the door open. And but I told him, can I watch? Can I bring it home and try to find VHS player to watch it? And actually, I found inside a long video letter to her son that was simply abandoned there. And so, yes, we had to work with different kind of materials, and we decided to keep the quality as it was, because she wasn't taking care too much to the quality. She was taking care to what she wanted to tell and to film. And of course, from a technical point of view, Hebe wasn't a great director or a great photographer, but the word she was telling and the way in which she was telling is something that I liked very much. And sometimes she was, did you see these images made with, it's simply like through Photoshop, she was creating images using backgrounds, simply backgrounds found in internet, Google background or something like that. At the beginning, she was starting to do it only because some clients asked her to have these backgrounds in order to show that their life was going well, and that is something that you find a lot of time in the migrants and diaspora images. For instance, there is one interesting film, Nuovo Mondo, by Crialese, who speaks about the Italian immigration, and at the beginning there is this Sicilian family receiving the postcards from New York, where there are this kind of games she's doing also with big money on the trees, and because the Italians were sending postcards saying, here the money are on the trees. And that is something that you find always in the diaspora, or sometimes have friends making pictures of themselves near a good car. It's not their car, but they send them the picture and they say, it's my new car because everything is going well in my immigration process. No? And at the beginning she started to do it for this reason, but then if you start to study what she was doing, if you start to stay on her creative production, you understand that she was playing with this. She was really trying to find her creativity, her way to express herself. Because basically what Ibi was doing through art was to redefine herself and to find a way to express herself in a world where she couldn't be. No? Because what she told me, are you a real artist? Because I can't be, because I'm not here. I decided to be here, but I don't have the right to be here. Everybody knows me, but I am not here officially. And the art was the way in which she found herself, and she found a way to express herself.
Any other questions? I actually have one, in which, in our conversations, Andrea, you said that even when you screen this to Italian audiences, they have a moment of sympathy, but also, she tried to smuggle drugs in the country. And so this is something that a lot of people are got over, and they're really struggling with this notion. So I wonder whether you want to talk a little bit more about your, really, like other screenings you've done in Italy.
Yeah, I have to make a small parenthesis about my relation, the relation between my films and audience. So I've realized several documentaries and film about this issue, and I travel, especially around Italy, but not only with my films, and many times I have long Q&A with a lot of people. Today it's not like that, but I know that there is a reason. And many times I had the feeling with other films that the people were empathizing with the protagonist of the film. Empathizing, sorry, with the protagonist of the film, because they were considering them like victim of an injustice, and they were trying to be involved in civic movement to recognize the rights of human beings to travel and to be free. But with Ibi was completely, well, not completely, but it was quite different. Most of the time in the theaters where I presented this film, the theaters were full and we had interesting Q&A, but I understood that the audience had difficulties to empathizing with Ibi, because of the fact that finally what the Italian tribunal says at the end is, yeah, it's something that has a weight. Till now, actually she was a criminal at the beginning. Yeah, but it's full all around the world of people who, at the beginning of a difficult movement, they also take the risk to make something against the law, not because they want to be against the law, but they are somehow forced in order to achieve the right to move. And so the story of Phoebe and the film of Phoebe is also dedicated to the fact that if you don't have the right to move and you try to take your right to move, you face the risk to be against the law. But we have to consider what is the base of not having the right at the beginning, what is the law at the beginning. And so it has, I had difficulties to create a relation between audience and Ibi. So I found also a lot of person who loved Ibi and liked her art and her way of expressing, and the film. So it's still going on in theaters, and so had a good success in Italy especially, and we are also bringing the film abroad.
Thank you. I just wanted to add that in popular culture, in fact, superheroes are actually often criminals too.
Yeah.
But that's a very different approach that we have, but we apply different moral standards when it applies to different. Well, I mean, if there aren't any questions, yes.
Out of all the profits from the movie, did any of it go to Ibi's family or Salami, and do you still keep in contact with some?
Yeah, the film, as I told before, the film, we decided to make the film together with the Salami and the family. So I started to work on the archive of Ibi when they gave me the authorization of doing it. I did it in the house of Ibi, where Ibi was living, together with Salami and with her daughter. Then there was also a moment of tension, because to reopen the archive and the life of Ibi was very painful for them. And there was, after 2-3 weeks, we were searching in the house, we were watching images, we were translating, because the footage was also in several languages, not only in several technical materials. And so we had to translate, and of course I don't speak Yoruba or other African dialects, and so the Salami and the daughter and other friends were helping me, and it was very painful for them to stay hours to watch Ibi. If you think about, someone you are missing, and to stay hours to watch what they are saying, it's really difficult. And so we had to stop, because we understood that it was too painful. But to make this film, you need time. No? It's not something that you do in a week and then you disappear. So that is not my way of working. So I want to stay so long time in the places and with the person. And then we restarted again. And then there was a moment of tension because of the fact that I wanted to pay the archive of Ibi. So I told to myself, if I receive financing support from Rai Cinema and other producers to make this film, but this film is not only my film. So this film, the 50%, 60% of the film is filmed by Ibi, not by me. And so I wanted to share this money with the family, with someone who has the right of the heritage of the creative production of Ibi. And that was the second moment of tension, because Salami has no right, because Salami, they are married, but not officially by the law, because she wasn't illegal. So they married in a mosque near the place where they were living, but this wedding is not, this marriage is not recognized by the law. And so he's nobody for the law. So I can't pay him, no, because he doesn't has the right. The daughter is in Italy, and the other two, one daughter, one son, the other two children, they are in Africa. And so we had to make an agreement, an international agreement was quite difficult, because there is not an agreement between Italy and Benin on author rights, because no one never did a film with a Benin author in Italy. And so we should have made a new international agreement between Italy and Benin, so it was too complicated. And so we asked the daughter of Ibi, who is here in Italy, to be representative also of the family, and to take her the money and then to share the money. And that was quite difficult, because she's the youngest daughter, and to take her all the money and then to share and to sign that she was taking the money was quite difficult for her to take this responsibility, because in Africa they couldn't understand what was happening, that now there is a director making a film on the mother died, but this director wants to pay, and the daughter is taking the money. So it's something difficult to explain to someone who is not used to deal with the author's rights or contracts with televisions or something like that. And we had to make a sort of big ceremony. So a cousin of this young daughter came from Paris, because he's living in Paris. And a so-called uncle is not an uncle, is simply an old man from Benin living in Naples, came also to this moment. And the signing of this contract was done also by, with the daughter and the son in Africa connected through Skype. And so was really a ceremony in order to, a ritual ceremony in order to make this agreement something more than a simple signing, you know? Why I'm here? What was the question at the beginning?
If you like.
I'm still, of course I'm still in contact. After all this process, we presented the film together in Locarno. Salami and the daughter came, other friends came. Before the presentation in Locarno, we watched the film together. And at the beginning, when they started to watch the film and they found out that I put this panel at the beginning when I say that Evie was arrested because she was smuggling drugs, they stopped the project, the screening, they stopped it on. We don't want to watch the film. You are saying that our mother is a criminal, you know how much is the problem. I asked them to arrive until the end to understand why I decided to put this panel. At the end, they agreed that was exactly what we had to say. We had the courage to say something that normally Ibi was trying to hide. No? Because in her life she was trying not to say that she came smuggling drugs, because that was her peccato original sin. No? And so it was a very interesting process. And then we presented the film in Italy or around Italy, and sometimes they present the film without my presence, so we are still in very good relation.
Are there a lot of associations like the one in her town in nearby Naples that are maybe like less strong but like have an important impact for
So,
immigrants?
yeah, then there was a question also by the lady, I remember. Okay. The movement in Caserta is quite special. Because it's quite special, the context in Caserta. So in the province of Caserta, as I told before the film, the Castel Volturno especially is the most African town in Europe. So the percentage of Africans living is very high in comparison with the Italian residents. But all the area of Caserta is full of Africans living there and working in the agricultures, and there is a high percentage of the migrants living there without documents, blocked somehow in crazy bureaucracy labyrinth of the Italian limbo of the Italian bureaucracy. In Italy, we have more than 500,000 undocumented person who came without the right to came, it's true, and they are trying to have recognized the right to stay, but at the same time they are working and living since 5 years, 10 years in the black market economy. And of course, for the black market economy, it's a good thing to have a lot of black workers without rights. And so the movement of Caserta is very special because collect these people and try to obtain the right to be recognized as a resident worker with rights and not to be simply workers without rights. But Italy is full of this kind of association and movement and group of people trying to work on the transformation Italy is experiencing in the last years, because we became an immigration land in the last 10 years. Before we were simply an immigration land. Now we are both, because now there is again the balance between immigrating people and immigrating people is on the side of immigration. And this big transformation, it's a cultural and social transformation of Italy, which creates a lot of tension, difficulties, and it's normal because it's big transformation. So we are speaking of 6 million foreigners, residents in Italy, and 10 years ago they were 2 million, and 20 years ago they were 100,000. So it's increasing, and it has consequences on the real life, on the daily life. And of course there are politicians using this transformation in order to make the fear increasing and to have a consensus based on a xenophobic, demagogical propaganda. But Italy is full of associations working on the other side, and the movement of Caserta is one of the most well organized.
Director, can you elaborate more about the husband? How is he doing now? Where is he living and so and so?
The husband is still living in the same house.
Can you explain what these houses, what were these houses
Yeah.
originally? For whom?
Yeah. Okay. The reason why in Castelvolturno is quite strong the presence of Africans, because Castelvolturno and all the area of Domiziana is, so this area between Caserta and Naples is full of African residents, is because these houses, exactly like the house where Salami is still living, were built in the 80s, 70s, 80s without any permission by locals, by Napoli person who were building houses near the sea to go on vacation, but they didn't have the permission to build these houses. So most of these houses are illegal, okay? And it's very difficult. You can't rent this house with a legal contract because the house is illegal. And so they started to rent the legal house to a legal person, okay? Not all of them are like this. The house of Salami, since when he has a document, he obtained to have also a contract of residence in the house, but before they were living, paying black cash, and that is, most of the houses are like this all around in this area, and this area is also quite influenced by a terrible control by Camorra, by the local mafia of Napoli. It's a place, no man's land, it's no law land somehow, but it's the presence of Africans who is changing the place. because the fact that they start to live there illegally, but then they start to fight to have documents, and if they manage to have documents, they want also to have a contract, or opposite. In order to have documents, they have to have a contract, and so this is changing also the relation between law and usual not law, like in Italy it is. And Salami is still living there. He would like to move from there. He would like to move in North Italy in order to find a better job. But somehow he doesn't find the way and the courage to really to move, because he's very connected with the friends of the movement. And he works for the movement now. He works as mechanical still, but after the film he started to use the film to travel with the film and to present the film, and he started to be member of the movement also from like as a job, not only as a volunteer staff. In Caserta, yeah.
Thank you.
It's a sort of union job, but it's a strange union because it's a union of illegal, undocumented workers. No? And the daughter, she's in Finland, I think, or she was in Finland until, yeah. Here is Arkodula is with me, is my girlfriend, but she worked a lot in the film too, and she knows very well all the family and all the story. So the last time we spoke with the daughter, she was in Finland because she obtained the documents and now she can travel, and she was invited by a cousin to go in Finland to take care of the baby they have in Finland, so it's a crazy story. Yeah.
Thank you.
so much.
What did you meet Ibi? I mean, how do you get in contact with her? Or
Yeah, the first time I met her was in 2014 because, so actually I'm in contact with this movement since 2009. Yeah, I did a documentary about agriculture workers in Calabria, and the documentary is called Green Blood. I met some of these workers through the movement in 2009, and then I did some of this interview with African rural agriculture workers in Caserta. And since that, and then the film was quite successful in Italy and was traveling, so was screened hundreds of times, and the movement used a lot that documentary, and so we kept in touch with the movement, and I met Ibi in the movement, and the first time I entered in her house was when in 2014 I had to interview a Ghanaian woman, Gladys, for another film of mine, and Gladys wanted to make this interview with me, but she couldn't make the interview in her house because her house is an illegal house without contract. And so she had fear to film the house where she was living because she didn't have the rights to live there. Gladys is another Ibi. She worked for a family from Napoli as babysitter and cleaning lady and everything lady in the house for like 10 years. And she, without documents, without contract and anything, she was working like 12 hours, 15 hours per day, and she was paid like 400, 300, 500, it depends from the month and so on. And so when we interviewed Gladys, she couldn't, she didn't want to make the interview in the house, and she told me, let's go to Ibi house, because Ibi, she's also a director, she will understand. And that's the first time I entered in the house of Ibi, and then everything started.
Yes.
Do you think the reaction to the film would have been different had the immigrant, like, had Ibi been of a different background? Had she been Asian, or had she been Romanian? Would the sentiments of the film be different to that than what they were for this film?
Other cultural background, I mean, so if she was coming from another country, not from Africa.
Not from Africa.
No, I don't think the reaction would have been different if Ibi wasn't a drug smuggler. That is what is basically. So if you commit a crime against Italian law, you can't be an Italian citizen. That is the idea, no? But as she was saying, we are full of Italian criminals who are heroes for us, no? That is the crazy paradox of it. And she committed the crime simply because she wanted to find a way to enter, because she didn't have other way, and she had a financial problem. We are full of Italian citizens making crimes because of economical reason, because of economical problems. No? But so it's very difficult. What is at the basis of this discussion? It's one very important debate there is nowadays in the world, and is connected to the fact that in a global world, civic right can't be, in my opinion, connected to nationality. No? Civic right, so the right to, human rights, but I don't want to use the term human rights because anytime we use human rights, seems that has to be with a humanitarian help, no? That we have to be good with the poor people. No, I'm not speaking about that. I'm speaking about similar civic rights we should have all together because we are humans. No? But the connection between civic rights and nationality, it has a sense in the last years to build the welfare state in the national countries. But nowadays, the global economy and the global migration opens the question if we should still keep this connection between civic rights and nationalities.
Wow. We might as well have talked to one person, and that's a great discussion nonetheless. Thank you so much for staying and to
Thank you so
have
much.
this discussion, and thanks to Andrea Segre.
Thank you. And if you are interested to show or to watch the film again, the film through Clarissa, we are glad to leave the film traveling, because the first goal of the film was to make EB be with us again.
And this is the first time that the film has actually been screened in the US.
Yes.
The premiere.
Thanks to the Italian Film Festival too, I haven't even thanked them. Thank you so much for taking.
Grazie.